Change the way you think, and your life will change forever. In 1869, a man who was 27 years old and had just finished from Harvard as a doctor of medicine was having a life crisis. Not only had he been through hard times before, but he also had to deal with illnesses and bouts of sadness during his 6 years of medical school. But this time, it was even worse. He thought about committing suicide for months. The young man was named William James. He went on to become the most famous psychologist in the United States and one of the founders of the school of Pragmatism. James got over his sadness on his own, and it took him 3 years to be clear. James wasn't just sad. McDermott, who edited William James's works, wrote about how bad his mental health was. James spent a lot of his life trying to figure out why he didn't kill himself at this time. James also had panic attacks and saw things that weren't there. He had been through the same painful things with his father years before him. Because of this, James thought that his illness was biological and that he couldn't get better. But in 1870, James had a big psychic breakthrough after reading a piece by the French psychologist Charles Renouvier. He wrote in his journal, "I think yesterday was a crisis in my life. I finished the first part of Remover's second essay and see no reason why his definition of free will, the sustaining of a thought, because I choose to, and I might have other thoughts, needs to be the definition of an illusion. At any rate, I will assume for the present until next year that it is not an illusion. My first act of free will shall be to believe in free will." This realization is at the core of James's idea that we have power over what we think, which means we can pick one thought over another. But James doesn't say that we have power over our minds. A lot of things go through our minds when we take the time to just sit and notice them for a while. The thoughts are just there, and we can't change them. We have free will, though, so we can choose which thoughts to focus on. This means that we can change the direction of awareness. This understanding is very important for our daily lives. It's the difference between saying, "I can't help but feel this way," and saying, "I choose to feel this way." This book is all about choosing. It takes work, but you can learn to keep your thinking in check and choose what you think. There is also a better way to control our thinking that can make our lives and jobs better. That is my main point in this book. For me, the most important thing in life is that you have control. Control over what you think. Your thoughts determine how your life turns out. We can do anything if we change the way we think. That one simple truth changes everything. Thoughts are very important, as many great thinkers have written. But Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was William James's uncle and a big inspiration to him, said it best. "You become what you think about all day long." I think that's true, but we need to understand that thoughts lead to deeds. This means that you can't change what you do without first changing what you think. Let's begin. Why do we need a book about how to think practically? Our brains are the most useful tools we have. They are more useful than any technology or instrument. The writer of Mastery said it best. If there is any instrument you must fall in love with and fetishize, it is the human brain, the most miraculous, inspiring information processing tool devised in the known universe, with complexity we can't even begin to fathom, and with dimensional powers that far outstrip any piece of technology in sophistication and usefulness. There is one problem, though. We don't know how to use this great tool that we were born with. We're not very realistic, and even though we think we're smart, studies show us to be anything but. Dan Ariely, author of Predictably Irrational, says this about our decisions. We usually think of ourselves as sitting in the driver's seat with ultimate control over the decisions we make and the direction our life takes. But alas, this perception has more to do with our desires and how we want to view ourselves than with reality. Emphasis mine. Over the last 100 years, scientists have found more than 100 cognitive biases, or mistakes in the way people think. This is strong evidence that we are not practical thinkers a lot of the time. We make choices based on our emotions and gut feelings without having all the facts. I've read a few books that help me think and make decisions better. I liked them, but they were all lacking in one thing. They were useful through stories. They do a great job of showing why we think the way we do, but I couldn't find a book that showed me how to change the way I think. That's why I wrote this little book. It has everything I know about how to think. That's why I'm writing this, to give you at least one idea that you can use to improve your life, business, or job. That's why I put all of my best ideas in this book. I made Think Straight so that you can read it more than once. And I hope it helps you, especially when things are hard. To keep this book useful, I use theory, stories, and my own experiences to give you tips that you may or may not be able to use. My first thought is that these kinds of books will only help you if you have an open mind. Now, if you don't think that's you, I can save you an hour. Just get rid of this book, burn it, ask for your money back, give it away, whatever. You must make a clear choice. Use it or leave it. Use what works. I'm not an expert on what people think because I'm not a physicist, psychologist, philosopher, or anything else. Throughout my whole life, I've believed that you have no power over your thoughts. I was happy one day and sad the next because of that way of thinking. I also got angry quickly and couldn't figure out how to fix easy problems in my business, relationships, and job. But I learned how to think better by writing in a diary, reading, and thinking about myself a lot. In what way do I know I can think better now than before? I am no longer ruled by my thoughts, and this makes me very happy. The way I use my mind is no longer the other way around. That, to me, is what better thinking means. It is not about how smart you are or how many math problems you can solve. It is about how you use your mind to get what you want. Change your thoughts, change your life is true for me. I gave up on starting my own business, was very stressed, and hated my life just 3 short years ago. I felt stuck. I don't want to make my situation sound too serious, though. I think we've all been there, and if you haven't felt stuck in your life yet, you will. It's a normal part of modern life. I don't mean to scare you, but you know how these self-help books end, right? They want you to believe that I was down and out. I lost all my money. I was depressed. My life sucked. But then I discovered X, and then my life changed. To be honest, I'm not any different. Like, I want to sell you on the idea of useful and useless thoughts in this book, but there's a difference. I'm only giving you my point of view. You choose what to do with it. The famous quote from realist and founder of functional psychology, John Dewey, is, "The true is that which works." But that doesn't mean we should believe everything we read or hear. That would be crazy. We need to stay grounded, look at the facts, listen to other people, and only then come to useful decisions. If we want to always think straight, we need to work at it. I compare the mind to a body that needs regular exercise to stay strong. To keep your mind sharp, you can learn new things. I thought that learning stopped when school did, though. For some, that's the end of high school. For others, it's the end of college or graduate school. We pick up new skills, ideas, and theories at school that change how we think and act in the world, but once we have a way of thinking, we don't change it very often. We like having the same thoughts because they make us feel comfortable. We know that new things are scary, so we do everything we can to stay away from them. We're creatures of habit who would rather let our minds rest than work hard at something. The phrase, "I need to relax and watch something on Netflix," is used by a lot of people these days. I've also said it. That makes me think, why do we need to rest from the work tasks we do over and over again, thought processes that we are used to? When we're not under a lot of stress, like when we have an exam or test to take, we don't really push our minds. We might ask, What's the point? But the point is to train your mind, just like you train your body to stay healthy. Why not work out your mind the same way you work out your body? You don't go to the gym for 4 years and then stop going for good. Also, your mind is the most important thing you have, and you need to train it to use it correctly. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, said it best: "The life of wisdom is a life of reason." It is important to learn how to think clearly. Thinking clearly isn't something you can just do. You need to train yourself to do it. Epictetus said that we need to get good training because we don't know how to do it. My thoughts were all over the place for most of my life. I never even thought about thinking. This is how my thoughts would look if you asked me to draw them: a diagram that is all over the place. That mess you see up there is what my mind looked like on the inside. It was a mess of good, bad, sad, happy, and most of all, confused thoughts. I always asked myself, why can't my brain stop? Where's the pause button? Now that I think about it, I didn't know how to make the most of my beautiful brain. I went from Leeuwarden, the Netherlands, where I grew up, to London in 2014. It was a big change from where I lived before. The place I moved from had 100,000 people living in it. Now it has 7 million. Finding a place to live was especially hard. Things were tougher than I thought they would be. I learned from reading about it and talking to my new co-workers that it was almost impossible to find an apartment quickly without getting ripped off. I opted to rent a room instead, which was easier for 3 months. And I chose to explore different parts of London that were only an hour's ride on public transportation from where I worked. That was my plan, and at first, everything went well. After 2 months, I finally found a cheap, small one-bedroom flat in Oldfield, which is in the southwest of London. I had everything planned out. I got out of the room rental agreement and signed the one for the new place. My parents and brother came over from Holland to help. Since I didn't have much stuff, we could use their car to move it from the old place to the new one, which was only 10 minutes away. This seemed like the deal to me. After getting the key to the new place, I would just move in. I would give the old owner the keys back, take it easy, and watch Netflix. I thought I could do everything in one day as well. It looks like things didn't go as planned after all. My new landlord changed her mind at the last minute and no longer wanted to rent out her flat. This was something she told me the day before I planned to move. I suddenly didn't have a place to live, and my SUV was full of my stuff. I was really scared that night in my parents' hotel room. I had no idea what to do, and now I'm sitting here like a fool because I had nowhere to go and my stuff was in a van. I brought you guys over from Holland. For the rest of the day and evening, I kept blaming myself. You may be wondering, really. Yes, I do think that I may have been a little too extreme when I look back on this. Let's just say what happened. I was a little too emotional, right? That's why I chose this example. It shows how stupid my thought was. I thought about things so much that I lost track of what was going on. What was I thinking when I wasn't clear? Some trouble in the first world, let's go. As soon as I woke up the next morning, my parents and brother pushed me to stop feeling sad for myself and start looking for a way out. So I told myself, think straight. I knew I needed to get rid of the mess and make things clear. I felt the need to get right to the point. I saw this on the left. A bunch of thoughts that don't help, like worry, stress, pain, confusion, and not knowing what to do. On the right, a single thought that does help. I wanted to start making tools out of my mind. It was important for me to find a quick answer for my London story. From there it was easy, as long as I could think straight. I reserved an Airbnb until I could find a new place to stay. We ended up staying in an Airbnb for a week. The owner changed her mind again and agreed to let me rent the flat. That's why all of my worrying, stressing and thinking was so pointless. How often does that take place? We decide and jump to conclusions so quickly based on what we think. Everyone here is a person. All the time we mess up, change our minds, and think things that aren't true. That's fine. Going crazy with your thoughts is not normal. And after a lot of other pointless thinking, I chose to change. I didn't have a big shock or major event that made me decide to change. Life isn't like a Hollywood movie. I know people who only change after a lot of troubles. At some point, we have to say enough, and you know what? Many people don't change at all, but we shouldn't worry about that. I had had enough of emotional pain after years of chaos in my head. That's the most beautiful thing I can make it. There's no need for an all-is-lost moment. Those kinds of things don't happen very often. I began to change my thoughts about 2 years ago, and now I know how to get rid of the chaos in my mind and replace it with focus. There's peace now. The rest of this book will tell you step by step how I did it, but first, I'd like to talk about some history of thought. A short history of thought. We all have thoughts, but not all of them are good. The most important thing is the nature of your thoughts. Alexander the Great, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, said it best. The universe changes, but our lives are what we think they are. It's clear that things are changing faster than ever. There are fewer jobs. Computers turn you into a zombie. Schooling costs a lot of money. Living costs rise quickly while wages don't. You have less time for yourself, and so on. It feels like you wake up in a new world every day because life changes so fast. What do you think about that? If you're like me, these events make you think a lot, which means you worry and are unsure. How do I stay alive? How can I make my business fit new market conditions? How can I move up in my job? How am I not going crazy? It's hard to control your thoughts. Thought control has been a goal for as long as people have lived. Philosophers of all times and places have agreed on one thing since the 5th century BC. The mind is a tool for solving problems, and many philosophers say that the quality of your thinking affects the quality of your life. All of these people, Confucius, Socrates, Descartes, and William James, talk about how they think and see the world. A lot of us know that Socrates said to question everything, even yourself. I know one thing, that I know nothing, is what Socrates reportedly told the Oracle of Delphi when Socrates was named the greatest man on earth. He is smart because he believes he doesn't know anything. That's a way to think. René Descartes, a French philosopher who lived in the 1600s, went even further. He had doubts about everything in life, even his own survival. How do you know you're not thinking or living in the matrix? That's why he famously said, cogito ergo sum, which means, I think, therefore I am. Descartes came to the conclusion that he must exist because he can think. You do exist, even if your thoughts are crazy, so why not make your life a little more useful, fun, practical, and light-hearted? Have you ever paid attention to your feelings or written them down? I want you to try it for a day. Sit down and write down what you're thinking right now, about every 2 hours. Don't be scared of yourself. A lot of the time, our thoughts don't make any sense. We're divided as a species. Descartes also looked over his own ideas and found a lot of problems with them. His main idea is that we should question where our beliefs come from, not the beliefs themselves, since most of them are based on how we or other people see things. How many of your ideas come from what other people have told you, or from how you feel or what you think at the moment? Being able to tell the difference between truth and lies is at the heart of thought. What is real? What is not true? A practical point of view is one way to look at that question. To quote William James, pragmatism is the attitude of looking away from first things like principles, categories, and supposed necessities, and towards last things like fruits, consequences, and facts. This means that thoughts should serve a purpose. If they don't, they're useless. This is called straight thinking. Pragmatism is a way of thinking, not a solution. In fact, all thinking is a way of thinking. Your thoughts are an instrument, but they're a conflicting instrument. Thinking is not only hard, it's the single most important thing in life. Remember, the quality of our thoughts determines the quality of our lives, and our decisions are a result of our thoughts. Life is not linear. I always thought in a linear way. A leads to B, and if B is C, A also leads to C. I looked at appearances first, thoughts, and made a lot of assumptions. But my thoughts didn't serve a useful purpose. In fact, they served no purpose at all. Instead of thinking, I followed convention. I let others do the thinking for me. Most of us are like that. I honestly thought I would never have to worry about having a job if I got my college degree until I was about 26 years old. I learned the hard way that nothing is guaranteed in life. You have to work hard to make money, and having a degree has nothing to do with making money. If I had to pick another predictor of career success, I would say skills. The better you are at something, the more value you can add to other people's lives. Most of us think there's a straight line from where we are to where we want to be. For example, let's say your goal is to start a business so you can have more freedom in your life. That was always my goal, and I thought I would just work on it until I reached it, but I had to take a lot of detours along the way. I worked for other people and started businesses that failed. Realizing that life doesn't go in a straight line helps us change the way we think. Along the way, I got down a lot and almost gave up, but now I know that things don't always go as planned, which helps me come up with backup plans or other ways to reach my goals. For example, when I lived in London and Amsterdam, one of my goals was to invest in real estate, but I didn't have enough money to get started. It was in my hometown that I found my first deal. Prices were low, I knew a lot of people, the population was growing, and the city put a lot of money into new businesses and education. 2 months after I decided to look elsewhere, I bought my first deal there. The point is that there are many ways to reach your goals, and if everyone else is doing something, you probably shouldn't either. Your brain is always working, even when you're not thinking. It reads all the information that comes in and compares it to information that it already has stored. It looks for similarities and differences between the pieces of information. This is how we think and how our brains help us come up with new ideas. The brain is made up of many small networks of neurons that connect to each other. I don't worry about how to directly use the information I learn. I feed my brain with information that interests me, and different kinds of information may be saved in different networks. But I don't mind if I connect the dots later. As Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backward, so you have to believe that the dots will connect in the future. If you want the dots to connect in the future, you have to make sure that you form them in your brain. You can only do this by learning, doing, making mistakes, reflecting, or anything else that feeds your brain with information. A heuristic is a strategy we derive from previous experience with a similar problem. One heuristic that everyone knows is trial and error, a strategy for finding answers to problems we face. It's also a way of thinking, but trial and error is not always the most practical strategy. If we relied on trial and error to build a career, we would probably die before achieving that goal. Life is too short for applying trial and error to everything. Another heuristic that's not practical is social proof. We often make decisions based on what others do or say, and my favorite heuristic is familiarity. It says that past behavior that led to good results is not a guarantee for future results. The familiarity heuristic also explains why we favor things and places we know over novelty. It's one of those things we see every day. We eat the same things, we walk the same route, we make the same mistakes, and we complete the same tasks at work over and over again, and then we complain that our lives are stuck or boring. No wonder you're making decisions based on familiarity. But who says that familiarity is always a good thing? It's good for certainty, but to achieve a breakthrough, you need something different. Making decisions based on heuristic techniques might ease the cognitive load, but they are far from practical, and often heuristics lead to unsatisfying outcomes. If that's the case, take it as a sign that you must change something. Instead of relying on heuristics to filter information and make decisions, rely on the main idea of pragmatism. True is what works. But don't take it too literally. Taking drugs works for me is what a contentious friend told me after I shared this idea with him, and he's right. You can't take this idea too literally. But what can you take literally in life? Take the platitude, "Good things come to those who wait," for example. I don't have to explain that it doesn't mean you should sit at home and wait forever until good things happen. Look at the "true is what works" idea as a filter that you can apply to all the information that goes into your brain. When faced with decisions, I ask myself, will the outcome of a decision change the way I live? If you ask yourself that consistently, you'll find that you automatically filter out useless information and only make decisions that have an actual impact on the outcome of your life. You force yourself to use whatever works, what's useful, and what impacts your habits. For example, conventional thinking says that bigger cities also bring you bigger opportunities. I really thought that was true. That's even the main reason I moved to London. And yes, I did seize a big opportunity for me at the time, but I also had bigger responsibilities and problems. Also, I don't like big cities. I hate crowded places, dirty air, and unreasonably high costs of living. Clearly, living in a big city didn't work for me. That way of thinking had a negative impact on the way I lived. That's why I eventually moved back to Leeuwarden. It's quiet. I know a lot of people here. I can work less, make more, and I can drive anywhere in the city within 10 minutes. However, I also realize that for most people, my way of living doesn't work. They might find it boring or not exciting enough. So what works for you? Stop thinking. Thinking is difficult. I never knew how to stop. It's easy to stay inside your head for hours, especially when you're in bed at night. But I can confidently say that 99% of all my thoughts in the past have been useless. I didn't do anything with my thoughts most of the time. I didn't solve a problem, nor did I try to understand difficult ideas or concepts from books. I spent a lot of time in my head doing this. I called that thinking, but it was more like worrying, stressing, freaking out. Call it whatever you want. I call it a preoccupied mind. And with what? And the list goes on. I wonder what my boss thinks. What happens if I screw up and lose my job? I think he doesn't care about me. I just keep failing. Does she love me? Why does my life suck? Why is my life awesome and other people's lives are not? I don't care about my job. Is there something wrong with me? I can't finish anything. What's wrong with me? I want to quit. I just have one question for you. What's the practical use of the above thoughts? Yes, I'm waiting. Still no answer? Exactly. Those types of thoughts are not helping us, but we all have them. So how do you get rid of them? Well, I've learned that you can't get rid of them. Remember, we can't control our consciousness. We can only control what thoughts we follow through on. You only have to be aware of your thoughts, acknowledge them, but never blame yourself or say, "Why do I have these thoughts?" No one has the answer to that. It's better to be aware of your thoughts and decide what you will ignore and what you will give importance to. For example, the thought of quitting whatever I'm doing in my life has been on my mind as long as I can remember. When I was in high school, I wanted to quit and just find a job. When I played basketball, I wanted to quit and later did quit. I can go on and on until I reach the present. No matter how much I love what I do, the thought of quitting and just walking away shows up in my mind at least 3 or 4 times a month. In the past, those thoughts cost me many nights of sleep. About 2 years ago, I had enough. I wanted to quit thinking, so I started becoming aware of my thoughts. Instead of always acting on every single thought I had, I would say to myself, "You don't control me," like a weirdo, but it works. I'm much calmer and happier because of it. When I want to quit, I still listen to it because sometimes it is a sign, but more often it's just fear, and I refuse to surrender to it, and neither should you. Inside your control versus outside your control. If you want to have useful thoughts, here's a rule of thumb. Only think about things you can control. That automatically eliminates about 99% of your thoughts, because there's very little you can control in life. Only focus on what you control, things like your desires, actions, words, and intentions. What's a useless thought? Anything out of your control and without a useful purpose. Do you ever think about the past? That's the perfect example of a random thought that lacks a purpose, unless you're reflecting on a past decision or mistake you made. In the case of reflection, you're doing something useful, but other than that, every thought about the past serves no purpose. From that point of view, it's useless. Ever fantasize about the future? That's also useless. I've discovered 2 main types of useful thoughts. 1. Thinking about how you can solve problems. A problem is just an unanswered question. Put your brain to use and think about how you can solve problems. There are a lot of those on this earth. 2. Understanding knowledge. That means this. Try to internalize knowledge and think about how you can use that knowledge to improve your life, career, work, relationships, etc. That's it. You can ignore every other thought. If you're constantly thinking without a useful purpose, it's because you haven't trained your mind yet. You have to get out of your head. If not, you'll go mental. Everyone will, no exception. Ask yourself, is that worth it? Do you really want to waste your time, energy, and life on useless thinking? You and I both know the answer to that. Commit to stop thinking about useless things. Start taking control of your mind. All that worrying about the past and the future is not going to help you. It never did, and it never will. Don't trust your mind. Have you ever made a decision that seemed illogical looking back? We're very illogical beings. Every person creates their own social reality. The way you view the world is completely subjective because we all have cognitive biases. The concept of cognitive biases was introduced in 1972 by 2 psychologists, Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman. A cognitive bias is a systematic thinking error that impacts judgments and, therefore, our decisions. My favorite cognitive bias is the attentional bias. It's scientific evidence for the idea that your life is a result of your thoughts. The attentional bias states that our perceptions are affected by our thoughts, and naturally, our perceptions determine our actions and decisions, which make up our lives. If you have negative thoughts, you also have a negative perception of life. That's what it says. The confirmation bias is one of the most well-known cognitive biases. It describes how we act when we want to confirm our beliefs. If you believe in something, you will work hard to find information, clues, and signs to back that up. In other words, you do everything to prove you're not wrong. You don't look at facts. You look at your beliefs. This is what all cognitive biases do. Because of this, writing it comes down to this. Don't base your decisions on your beliefs, obvious logic, or even sense. Scientists are human, which means they have cognitive biases, and they're known for finding evidence to support their own ideas. If you want to make better decisions, you don't need more information. Instead, I found that a pragmatic and neutral point of view leads to better informed decisions. Unfortunately, there is no such thing as the best decision. When I feel like I can't get out of a thought pattern, I look at the list of cognitive biases. It's simple and free. Just go to the Wikipedia page for the list. Most biases seem like common sense, and that's the point. Cognitive biases explain why we do things that don't make sense when we look at the facts. I hate making assumptions, but I do them all the time. If someone doesn't answer my email, I think they don't care. If someone says sorry, I think they're not really sorry. If I have a headache, I think I'm sick. I know I'm not practical because assumptions are not facts. To think clearly, you need to get rid of all assumptions and only look at facts. The pragmatist clings to facts and concreteness, observes truth at work in particular cases, and generalizes. To keep things simple, let's look at two ways to decide, one based on facts and one based on assumptions. Does your product solve a problem, or do you think it does? Can you raise money for your startup, or do you think you will? Will you get a raise, or do you think you will? I try to avoid making assumptions as much as possible. Instead, I like to look at the facts, and then come to a conclusion. What if you can't rely on the facts? Well, sometimes you can't find them, or you need to make a decision quickly. In those very rare cases, I like to go with my gut. No matter what you do, don't waste your time on other people's guesses and opinions that aren't based on facts. True versus untrue. In the previous chapter, we talked about looking at facts, but are facts also the truth? The answer is no. Confusing, right? It's just like life. For example, does God exist? I don't know. I've never seen any evidence. Does that mean God is not real? It doesn't matter what I think. If God has an impact on the way you live, it's true for you, no matter what scientists say. Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher who had a profound impact on Western philosophy, famously said, "There are no facts, only interpretations." Nietzsche was a man of true self-knowledge. Sigmund Freud even said that he had a more penetrating knowledge of himself than any other man who ever lived or was ever likely to live. He was a very analytical thinker, especially when it came to his own thoughts. When Nietzsche said that there are no facts, he meant that we, as human beings, ultimately rely on our interpretations of reality. There's no way to confirm reality objectively. That doesn't mean nothing is real, and that we're all living in a big dream. We just have to realize that facts are not the same thing as the truth. That simple thought saves you a lot of energy because it means no one can be right or wrong. Don't bother with convincing people with different opinions of the truth. It's just not a practical thing to do. Save your energy for other, more useful things. Take your time to think. He thinks on his feet. He's really smart. I believed this for a long time. Whenever I had a problem, a conversation, or someone asked me a question, I would think quick, quick, quick. Naturally, my first answer sucked. Derek Sivers, one of my favorite thinkers, says he's a slow thinker. It's a common belief that your first reaction is the most honest, but I disagree. Your first reaction is usually outdated. Either it's an answer you came up with long ago and now use instead of thinking, or it's triggering a knee-jerk emotional response to something that happened long ago. Thinking things through takes time. Every time I gave a quick answer, I wasn't thinking at all. I was impulsive. Derek Sivers trained himself not to trust his first thoughts. That's also what he did when his email consumed too much of his time and attention. Being a public figure, Derek received a lot of emails from his readers. Most of them contained quick 5-minute questions. But as he says, if you get 100 of those questions, that adds up to 8 hours in a day. After answering 192,000 emails between 2008 and 2016, Derek knew he needed to do something about it. So he planned to go off the grid, like a modern-day Henry David Thoreau. I was going to go hardcore, shut off all email and social media, and make myself unreachable to all but a few close friends and colleagues. It felt like the only solution. That was his first thought. But then I realized I could remain reachable as long as I don't answer questions, is what Derek writes on his blog. I'm glad he didn't act on his first idea. His second idea is much better. I've emailed Derek myself in the past, and I think what he does makes a big impact on people's lives. What I'm trying to say is that when someone asks you a question, it's okay to say, "I don't know." You can also say that to yourself. I've often been too hard on myself because I didn't have an instant answer to my personal problems. That doesn't make you dumb, it makes you human. Why are we even afraid that people think we're stupid? It's the perfect example of slow thinking. Instead of following your instinct of, "I'll prove them," you can take a step back and ask yourself, why do I even want to come across as smart? If you really think about it, it doesn't matter what others think of you. I think it's always better to take your time to think. If others think that makes you stupid, they are the ones who are not. Quick decisions. Shall we book a business trip to Thailand? Are you interested in a speaking gig at Company X? Should we renovate the kitchen? Do you think we should fire John Doe? How about hiring another sales executive? Just a few questions others have asked me recently, and you know what? Just as I like to take time to think deeply about my challenges, I also take time to think quick decisions through. Every time I said yes to a speaking gig, interview, or giving a seminar, I didn't think about it for long. When things are in the future, we're more likely to say yes. That trip is planned for September. It's now March. That's ages from now. And without thinking about it, you commit to a 5-day business trip or family vacation. But when September comes, you're either in a great professional flow, have other more important commitments, or are in the middle of something else. Now all of a sudden, that quick yes from ages ago is on your mind all the time. Should I cancel the trip? Should I go? Should I go for 2 days only? Why do we make things so complicated when we can easily solve these things by just taking an extra day to think? That's all you need. Just think things through. Know yourself. For instance, I'm currently in a great writing flow. I don't feel the need to leave my city. I have a set routine every day, and it works very well for me. I feel happy, and I enjoy my life a lot. When I go away for even a weekend, my whole routine can be messed up, and then I need another 2 weeks to get back to my bold self. However, I don't always have this mindset. Right now, I'm working on this book, opening a new office, and buying a new apartment. I'm focused on a few important things, but other times I'm more flexible and actually do like to travel, visit friends, business partners, and live a looser lifestyle. That's why I now take more time to make decisions. Instead of following my first thought, I say, please give me a day or two to think about it. That's all you need. Release your mind. Once I changed my perspective on life, I started training my brain every single day. I started reading 2 hours a day and taking extensive notes of the things I learned. I also started writing articles to share the ideas I learned. In the beginning, I felt like a new world opened up to me. I couldn't get enough of learning more. I bought new books every week and devoured every piece of new knowledge I could get my hands on. But after a few weeks, I had a mental breakdown. All of a sudden, my mind froze up. I felt blocked. I couldn't think, read, or write. My head hurt all day long. That went on for a few days, almost a week. I felt ill, and I didn't understand why. I couldn't even think about why, and when I felt better, I just picked up where I left off. This time, I went on for longer, about 2 months before I hit another wall. But this time, it was different again. No matter what I tried, I didn't feel like I was improving or learning new things. But I kept going and pushing through the difficulty. After this pattern occurred a few times, I finally understood what was going on. Training your mind happens in stages, and before you can move on to the next phase of your learning development, you have to get through a wall. I believe that both learning skills and developing yourself happen in stages. At the beginning of a new stage, things are easy to learn because everything is new. But the closer you get to the end of a stage, things get more difficult. In my case, I got headaches, but I wasn't near the end yet because, after a short setback, I got back at it again. At some point, you hit a big wall. That's the mental breakdown. It's also a point at which you want to give up whatever you're trying to achieve. Writing a book, starting a business, changing your career, or leading a group of people. When you hit a wall, everything stops. The book all of a sudden seems useless. Words have been our primary way to communicate, and that's why we also think in words. When I think, I talk to myself, and when I take notes, I also talk to myself. Create a chapter about drawing your thoughts, is what I wrote in my notebook when I came up with the idea for this chapter. I find that fascinating. One of the best-known thinkers of all time, Leonardo da Vinci, thought visually. How do I know this? I took a look at his notebooks, which you can easily find if you Google them. Here's an example. Now, we don't have to become this great at drawing, but I think we can still learn something. Drawing frees your mind from the constant verbalization. I started drawing the images from my blog posts over a year ago. My drawing skills haven't improved, but my articles have, and one of the reasons is that I take time to think about how I can visually share my idea. I want readers to immediately get what I'm trying to share in the article by looking at my drawings. That's why I think a lot about visualizing an idea. Sometimes I draw a graph, sometimes I emphasize a sentence or word, and I even make simple cartoons. After I make the drawing, I often edit my article to make my idea clearer, and some articles even start with a drawing. This book also started with a drawing. It's the drawing I used in the From Chaos to Clarity chapter. Here it is again. I made that drawing without a purpose. I was just visualizing some of my ideas. One of my ideas is that it used to be chaos in my mind until I found a way to overcome it. As a result, I think clearly. That's the whole drawing, and now it's a book. René Descartes. Be yourself, not what you should be. Beat yourself instead of the world. What are you good at? What are you bad at? How do you learn new things? What do you love, and what do you hate? In other words, who are you? What's your DNA? Yes, biologically we're all pretty much the same. We all have organs, bones, blood, nerves, and we all die. Why is knowing yourself important? I had no idea. No one ever talked about it in school. But I made bad choices because I didn't know myself well enough. The jobs I had, the girls I dated, the things I chased, the choices I made, and the people I spent time with didn't match my strengths, values, skills, and desires. For example, my ex-girlfriend wanted to live in different countries and travel the world. I don't like that idea. I want to stay close to my family and best friends. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything if I don't go. I worked in boiler rooms selling useless things to people who didn't need them. I don't know why I did that, but I probably did it for the money. I thought that's what you do. But I didn't know myself. I know myself better now than I did 10 years ago, and I'll know myself better in 10 years. Knowing yourself is the first step. Acting on that knowledge is the second. Sometimes opportunities come my way. You might not have time to think when it's not important, but make it a priority. If you don't, you'll end up like I did a few years ago. I didn't think about anything from 2012 to 2015, and all of a sudden I felt overwhelmed and didn't know what to do with my life. I had a real midlife crisis. I didn't know what to do, so I started reading more books. I noticed that many smart and happy people kept journals and thought more about their lives. Specifically, they thought about the things they learned, the mistakes they made, and the goals they reached. When I started writing in my journal every day, I started by writing my autobiography. It's not meant to be published. It's meant to help me learn and reflect. If you don't know what to write, write about it. Write your lips. My money rules. One of my friends told me he hates his job. I asked him why he didn't take any action. "I need the money," he said. I automatically knew that he assumed that the only option for him was to quit. The reason is that we become too dependent on something when we give it too much importance. There's a simple solution: devalue the value of money. I live by these 5 rules. That's what I've done for the past 3 years, and I haven't had a single thought about money. Actually, that's not true. I still think about money. Everybody does. But as soon as I think I have enough money in my savings account, I stop thinking about money, no matter what happens. If you have enough money to survive for 6 months, you'll figure it out. There's only one condition: invest in your skills. It's naive to think we'll always be able to find a job or make money. But since when is that a surprise? I just make sure I invest my money instead of spending it. Investing money is not only about investing in the stock market or in real estate. I have no problem paying $3,000 for a new laptop because it's a tool I use to do my job, and that makes me money. Also, I'm never cheap when it comes to buying important things. I'd rather buy a good jacket that lasts years than buy a cheap one that I have to replace next year. Simply put, I don't buy things I don't need. I don't need a new iPhone every year. I also don't need $5,000 shoes. But that doesn't mean I own only one pair of shoes. I simply don't buy everything I like. Buying stuff in excess is not practical because I don't have enough space. Plus, I like to train myself to resist things to improve my self-discipline. Remember, money is a replaceable resource. When you're out of it, you can earn it back. You can't say the same for time. Don't spend too much time thinking about money. Don't try to think your way out of everything. This doesn't make sense at first sight, but when you think too hard, you often come up with bad ideas. That's because you can't actively think your way out of everything. We've all had good ideas while taking a shower. That's because we're not actively thinking. It's good to let your attention wander and stop thinking. This is also a part of controlling your mind. You have the ability to decide when you want to let go of your thoughts, similar to relaxing your muscles when you lay on the couch after a tough day. You can let loose of your thoughts. You can do that in many different ways. Some like to take a yoga class. Others prefer to meditate every day. The medium doesn't matter. I've learned that there are many ways to relax. However, only one thing is critical. You don't need anything to relax but yourself. You don't need yoga, exercise, meditation, music, scents, or whatever it is you think you need. Let go of everything. You can escape your outside world and go inside your mind to find peace. If you can't do that right now, train yourself. Become aware of your thoughts, observe them, and let them go. That's the whole process. You can do that any time, any place. You don't need a different scenery or class to do those things. Let go and relax, and do it as often as you think is necessary. You'll find that the moments you're not thinking are just as important as the times you are actively thinking. Be unconventional. I've grown to hate conventional thinking, not because I want to be different, but because conventional thinking gives you conventional results. I don't like that, and if you liked conventional results, you wouldn't be reading this book. Let's examine decision-making for a second. The most conventional method for decision-making is to create a pros and cons list. Benjamin Franklin is the first who documented this method. He wrote about it to his friend Joseph Priestley in a letter to him in 1772, and today we create these lists all the time. What are the pros and cons of quitting my job, breaking up with my boyfriend, taking this job offer, buying a new car, starting a business. And then we take a sheet of paper, draw a line in the middle of it, and start listing the pros on the left and the cons on the right, or vice versa. Even though I like the simplicity of this method, I stopped using it after one of my friends recommended me to create one of these lists when my first relationship hit a rough patch. I actually made a pros and cons list for breaking up with my then girlfriend. When I think about it now, I'm ashamed, and it didn't even make any sense because there are always factors that, by themselves, outweigh all of the other factors. Nearly all pros and cons lists for relationships are the same. Pros of staying in a relationship: having someone to share everything with, you can have sex, go on holidays, etc. Cons of staying in a relationship: less free time for myself, getting in fights, going to in-laws, etc. It's always the same, and it's not useful. The same is true for quitting a job you hate. The pro is that you're free from a bad job. The con is that there's a lot of uncertainty. It's time to break free from this conventional thinking. Instead of binary thinking, start thinking more abundantly. It's not this or that. In life, you can have this and that. I always thought I had to either quit my business or take a job. Also, many of my friends think you should quit your job to start a business. Whoever said these things? When my business wasn't growing a few years ago, I just took a job at a large IT research firm. I did both things. I ran my business in the evenings and weekends, and sometimes during the day, and the rest of my time I did my work for the firm. Also, you can start a business while you still have a job. That's what I mean when I talk about thinking outside of the box. We always limit ourselves by narrow and conventional thinking. We always want to stay within a box. That's because we never take a step back to look at the larger picture. Take a look at the drawing below. If you're standing inside the maze, you'll probably start walking towards the middle, right? That's what you should do when you're in a maze. However, this maze is different. The prize is not in the middle, it's outside the maze. But you can only see the goal if you take a helicopter view. It's impossible to see the goal from within the maze. And yet that's how most of us live. We do things conventionally because that's how it's done. When you stop doing things the way they're done, you'll start doing things how you get it done. Don't ask why. I'm a fool with sending emails, especially when it comes to selecting the recipients. I always type the first letter of a name and hit enter. I trust the computer and never check whether the address I've selected is actually the person I want to mail. I'm lazy. Often it doesn't matter, and I get funny responses back from people. But one time, this simple mistake cost me $150,000 in business. I was working with two companies on a multi-year consulting deal. Both of my contacts had the same name. Let's call them Wim. One Wim was an existing client. Let's call him Wim A, and the other was a prospect, Wim B. Both guys wanted the same type of consulting for their companies, but I gave Wim A a better rate because he was a loyal customer. However, instead of sending the contract to Wim A, I sent the contract to Wim B. This time, it wasn't an innocent mistake. Wim B had previously seen my proposal, which had a higher total price. But when he saw that Wim A got a lower rate, he was upset. Why does he get a lower rate? Is that how you do business? He decided not to do business with us. I learned 3 things. 1. Always double-check. 2. Small things can become big things. 3. Don't play favorites. There's no use in asking why I made a mistake or why I was always lazy with email. I just was, and I was wrong. There's no way to justify my mistake. Never brush important details off and say, it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter that you hit snooze every single day, or that you ignore the details of your book report or movie. The point is that not striving for perfection becomes a habit. Don't worry about being a perfectionist. There's no such thing. People aren't always perfect. Perfectionism is just an excuse for being afraid of what other people think of our work. No matter what, don't ask why when you face problems, challenges, or mistakes. Instead, think about what you can do to get past or stop the things that are stopping you. Pay even more attention to the details. I missed a small detail that cost me a lot of business, but the lesson I learned was worth more than the business I could have gained. Details are probably the most important thing in business, work, sports, art, and life in general. One of my favorite sayings is, "The devil is in the details." But I never followed that advice because I was too impatient. I was always trying to rush through everything. Emails, calls, reports, assignments, essays, and so on. That was my first title, The Art of Practicality. I liked it at first because it sounded familiar, but as I wrote a book about thinking, I used the same techniques for my own book. That's when I asked myself, what does the art of even mean? I didn't have a good answer, so I knew I had to change the title. Funny thing is that my second title was The Power of Pragmatic Thinking Like a Genius. I came up with another generic title that was even longer than the first one. How many books start with The Power of? I searched for The Power of in 83,500 book titles on Goodreads. That's a lot of books with those words in the title or subtitle. I learned that when you write a book, you need to make it stand out. No one cares about a better book on thinking. You probably picked up this book because you were expecting something different. But with the other books I had written, I knew no one would think it would be different. I began pushing Think Straight on my website and social media 2 weeks before it came out, and my fans became very excited very quickly. Soon I was getting emails like this. "Can't wait for the book! Great job! I can't wait to read your new book. You are very determined. I'm looking forward to Think Straight." I love my readers. That's why I spent a lot of time making sure the title was right. There was no one reading the book at that point, but the title got people interested, which was my goal. Thanks to everyone who emailed me before the start. I hope I heard you. Make a winky face. Just doing your job means thinking about the little things. Authors, it's your job to make sure your book is the best it can be. It is your job as a creator to make the best design possible. There's no way for you to write one book or create one product and then quit. You have to keep going over the details if you want to grow mentally, emotionally, and financially. Don't forget or undervalue things if you want to do a good job. If you can't, don't do the job at all. Take the thought process out of it. I don't want to turn into someone who thinks all the time but never does anything. I think the only reason is that I want to make my life more interesting. I enjoy getting more out of things because it makes me happy. That's the reason I don't like to think about every day. It sounds strange, doesn't it? You say you need to think more, but now you say you're not thinking as much. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. If you improve the quality of your thoughts, you will also improve the quality of your deeds. Remember that acting is always more important than thinking. Getting into habits is the best way to make sure you do more. As an example, think about exercise. I've always had a hard time keeping in shape, and I was overweight for a long time. When it came to exercise and food, I always played thought games with myself. Should I work out or go for a run? I'm going to the gym tomorrow after eating these chips. Which days should I work out? Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, or maybe every Tuesday and Thursday? That is too much thinking that doesn't help. To help you stick to my simple rules, you should work out for at least 30 minutes every day, but don't overdo it. You should also eat healthy foods and avoid junk food, and you should keep track of what you eat and how much you exercise. Putting together a few rules makes a system, and systems help you do things without having to think about them. If your method doesn't give you the results you want, all you have to do is think. I would change my method if it made me feel bad or made me gain weight. It's never perfect, even if it does work. So I often think about what I can change or how I can make my processes better. Do not dwell on your mistakes. My grandma was always around when I was a kid. There was a time when she was maybe too kind because she gave up a lot for her parents, brothers and sisters, husband, and then her children. That's life too. She gave up a lot to live in the Netherlands for the last part of her life instead of her home country of Iran. You can't live together and build a strong family without giving. Because she felt so bad about the past, she talked about it all the time, and especially in her last few years, she almost cried every day. My mother, father, brother and I went to see her a lot and made her laugh, which was nice. But I could always feel the sadness. My grandma taught me a lot, mostly about being kind and how important it is to have strong family values. But the most important thing she taught me was that you don't regret what you did. You regret what you didn't do. When my grandma died in January 2015, I made up my mind to always remember that lesson. In the past, I always thought I wanted to live in different places and visit the world. I understand that it's not a new goal. A lot of the people I talk to love the idea of being free and exploring. Why does that happen? A lot of it comes from pop culture, in my opinion. A lot of people look up to famous travelers like Jack Kerouac and Ernest Hemingway. These days, young people look up to social media stars who also travel the world and post Instagram photos of their adventures. Even though the way you travel and share your memories has changed, the desire to do so has not. That way of life isn't for everyone, though, and I didn't know that before I started moving. I mean, how could I? You have to go through some things in life to really know what they're like. You can't really know what it's like to be a business until you try it. Reading business books and watching videos about starting your own business won't make you an entrepreneur, ever. You'll end up living the life of someone else. I would rather eat rice and beans and do the things I love than work at a job that makes me unhappy but pays well. In the end, this is your life, and the only way to be happy with it is to do what you really want. Just make sure you have clear thoughts so that you act on them. Don't look back. I don't think about my past very often. By day, I don't think about the past. I don't watch old movies all day. I'm so caught up in the present that I don't even think about taking shots. I think that most people live their lives in the past tense, which makes me sad sometimes. So they don't enjoy the moment. They take a picture of it with their phone. I'd rather be present all the time than live life through a screen. I'll be honest and say that I'm not always fully present, but I'm trying to live in the present, and I know I'm doing a good job because I never want to go back and remember the past. I'm having too much fun right now. That doesn't mean I never take a picture of my family. I just don't take a lot of pictures that I'll never look at again. When do you have time to look back at all your memories? How many movies and pictures do you have? How many old records, awards, mementos, and other real items do you keep that make you think of the past? For those of you who find it hard to let go, I have some good news. You will never use that old iPhone that you've had in your desk drawer for years. Change that movie from your trip with friends over the weekend. Check out your old quizzes, articles, and grades. Put on those old clothes you've been putting away. Use the thing that makes you think of your first date in any way you want. Many things from the past get in the way of living in the present when we hold on to them. I can think of no good reason to look back other than to learn. If you look at your past, you can learn a lot. That's why I like writing in a book. I often read back over my journal writings to figure out what I was thinking at the time, especially when things don't go as planned. I try to figure out why I went back. I started a paid membership site in 2017, after writing regularly for 2 years and getting more than 22,000 people to sign up for my email. I thought about the membership site too much before I started it. With the help of 1,000 readers giving me $5 a month, I can write, train, and help other people for a job. Members who pay will get material from me that no one else has. That's a good deal. That's how I thought about it. I got the idea for 1,000 from Kevin Kelly's important article, 1,000 True Fans. I also looked at how other blogs started their membership sites. I had sold hundreds of online classes before that, so I knew people liked my work. At least it looked good on paper, but what I thought would happen didn't happen. 78 people signed up. After a month, I shut down the membership page. After 6 weeks, a lot of people, including paid members, friends, and co-workers, told me I stopped too soon. That's possible, but I don't give up when things get tough. During the 6.5 years it took me to get 2 degrees, I often thought about dropping out. Also, because it's so hard to make money, I've thought about leaving my family business many times. That will never change, though. I didn't quit my membership site because I got it wrong. It will take me more than a year to get 1,000 paid users at this rate. Besides, 6 people cancelled in the first month, which means it will take me even longer if I include those. Also, for the past 6 weeks, I felt obligated to give my paid members special material. The stress of making sure they get something from the membership takes up a lot of time that I could be using to grow our family business or my teaching business. In the end, I don't think a membership site is the best way to go. Instead of just adding 78 to the number, I gave it more thought. How can people stay? How much do you have to do? What other options do I have to reach my goals? I can help people in a lot of other ways as well. I also make a living in a lot of other ways. Because of this, I shut down my membership site after only 6 weeks. It's not the end of the world if things don't work out. Choose something, stick to it, and move on. Only look back to learn. When I think about the time I wasted trying to start a membership site, it was easy to see what I could have done differently. It took me 3 months to make the club area, write copy, add material, and so on. It was clear to me from the start that running a membership site would take time. Do you remember the part about specifics? Do the job right, or don't do it at all? I should not have done anything at all in this case. Why? I didn't have time for myself because I was too busy running my family business, writing books and papers, making classes, and advising. I've learned that I can only handle one big job at a time in every part of my life. You should look back, but don't stare for too long. Life is going on now. Take good care of your time. Time is running out. We all learn that one day, and once we do, we start to pay more attention to how we spend our time. Thoughts are like a sword with 2 edges. It can make you stronger or weaker. What will happen depends on how you think. Your mind is just a tool, nothing more or less. I talked about how I've learned to use my brain better in this book. There are times when you need to change the way you think, and times when you need to stop thinking. You should choose when to use each way, but don't think too much. That's a waste of time. But in the end, thinking is pointless if you don't do anything. But as we already said, action comes after thought. Good ideas lead to good deeds. To make my point clearer, here are some thoughts that I believe will help you. Improving your life, growing your business and job, picturing your future, coming up with new ideas, fixing problems, and planning fun things to do with your partner, family, or friends. It's not that hard to understand. It's hard and takes work to stay with this way of thought, though. If you only read this book once, don't think you'll become a useful thinker. Like any other skill, thinking better needs to be practiced every day. I do that by seeing everything that happens to me as a chance to think more clearly. If I don't, I waste time on pointless things like whining, feeling sorry for myself, and not enjoying my life. As a group, we think so much that we miss out on life, and it has nothing to do with the cool things other people do. Everybody knows that the little things in life are what make it beautiful. When you woke up this morning, did you notice the sun or the drops of rain? Did you notice how your coffee smells? Did you touch your grains to see how they felt? If the answer is no, you need to get out of your head with your thoughts and start feeling. Intercom, this whole thing has only one goal. Intercom, your mind should always be calm, no matter what goes on in your life or what happens to you. That's the most important thing in life. If we have mastery of the mind, we are in charge of our thoughts. Remember that the only way to do that is to practice every day. Mindfulness or meditation are two words that people may use to describe it. Don't make it too hard to understand. No matter what you call it, finding intercom, you don't have to pay $110,000 for a school to learn how to calm down. Sit down, connect with your thoughts, notice them, and then push them aside. That's all there is to how to meditate. Every time I walk, work out, write, wait, sit, lie down, or do anything else, I meditate to find peace. I can always make time and energy to go inside. I'm ready to go. That's important to understand. That's right. You don't need a yoga mat, music, or a guide to learn how to control your thoughts. I've said it before, but it's that important. Anytime you want to calm down, you can go inside yourself. You don't need a drink, a vacation, or new shoes either. How do I understand this? What I think I control. What it does is up to me. You can too. Think about other people. A lot of the ideas I wrote about in this book come from the pragmatist school of thought. If you look up pragmatism, you'll probably find that Charles Sanders Peirce, who used to teach at Johns Hopkins University, started the trend. But if you read more about the philosophy's history, you'll find that William James was the one who named Peirce as its father in 1898. Some people thought highly of Charles Sanders Peirce as an intellectual in the 1880s, but by the end of the 1800s he had lost favor. In the 1860s, James and Peirce met while they were both students at Harvard's Lawrence Scientific School. Peirce was once seen as a math and logic genius. He later became a professor at Johns Hopkins University, but he was fired in 1884 because of a scandal involving his second marriage. It's a really sad story. In 1875, Peirce's first wife left him not long after he started seeing another woman while he was still formally married. But after 8 years, his split was final. He lived with a woman he wasn't married to during those 8 years. He was fired after Simon Newcomb, who worked with Peirce, apparently told on him. This caused a public scandal. Peirce was sad that he never found work in academia again, and he was poor for many years. He even slept and lived on the streets of New York City for years after he was fired. William James, an old friend, was the only one who helped him. After getting over his sadness in 1870, James began to write a body of work that is still important today. James earned a Harvard professorship and fame in the academic world after writing Principles of Psychology, a book that came out in 1890 after 12 years of work. Unlike his friend, James's career had been going up for years. Then, out of the blue in 1898, he gave the idea of pragmatism to the long-forgotten Charles Sanders Peirce in a talk called Philosophical Conceptions and Practical Results. Pragmatism means that ideas should be judged by how useful they are in real life. James thought that scientists were wasting their time on theories and ideas that were too general and didn't apply to real life. If a science showed how the earth was made, would you change how you live? Pragmatists believe that we can never have complete proof of anything. Lou Menand, who wrote Pragmatism, a Reader, says this about this idea. Every choice we make is based on what we think the world will do or be today. No matter what people think about practicality, one thing is certain. Giving Pierce credit for the idea was a good thing that James did, and that's what makes James so great. It wasn't his goal to get credit for something he made, because Pierce would not be known, and practicality would not exist without James's deeds and support of it. James did something important when he did that. He helped a pal. Pierce got some attention, and in his later years he even wrote a few papers. 1. Embrace the stages of learning and growth. Learning and personal growth are not straightforward, linear journeys where progress is always steady and predictable. Instead, they occur in stages characterized by periods of progress, setbacks, plateaus, and breakthroughs. Think of learning as a winding path with ups and downs rather than a straight line. Along this path, you will encounter mental walls or roadblocks, times when it feels impossible to move forward. These walls often show up unexpectedly and can be incredibly frustrating, but they are not signs of failure. Instead, they represent a critical phase of development where growth is happening beneath the surface, even if it doesn't feel like it. These mental walls are moments when your skills, knowledge, or motivation seem to hit a ceiling, and continuing feels overwhelming or even pointless. However, it's important to recognize that these challenges often occur right before significant breakthroughs. It's like the darkest hour before dawn. These struggles precede moments of clarity, skill mastery, and personal insight. When you find yourself stuck, remember that feeling stuck is not a signal to quit. It's a natural and essential part of the learning process. In fact, the frustration you feel is your mind's way of signaling that you are on the brink of leveling up. Embracing this cyclical nature of learning requires a shift in mindset. Instead of viewing setbacks, mistakes, or moments of stagnation as failures, see them as valuable opportunities for growth. Each setback forces you to pause, reflect, and adjust your approach. It's during these times that you refine your skills, sharpen your strategies, and test your resilience. For example, if you're learning a new skill like playing a musical instrument, you might hit a point where it feels like no matter how much you practice, you're not improving. This is the wall, but by pushing through, by trying new techniques, adjusting your practice routines, or seeking feedback, you eventually break through and reach a new level of mastery. Resilience is developed in these challenging moments, not when everything is going smoothly. It's easy to feel confident and motivated when you're making rapid progress, but real growth happens when you face obstacles and choose to keep going. These moments teach you to persevere, adapt, and innovate. For instance, an entrepreneur might face repeated business failures, each time feeling like the end of the road. But by analyzing what went wrong, pivoting, and applying lessons learned, they can eventually find a successful formula. This adaptability is what sets successful people apart. They don't see obstacles as permanent roadblocks, but as stepping stones on their path. When you hit a wall, it's natural to doubt yourself. You might feel like you're not good enough, smart enough, or talented enough. You might question your choices and think about giving up entirely. This is especially true for endeavors that require sustained effort and long-term commitment, like writing a book, starting a business, or changing careers. These pursuits are not easy, and they often test your patience, endurance, and willpower. The walls you encounter are often more psychological than physical. They are mental barriers that reflect your fears, doubts, and insecurities. Recognizing this is crucial because it shifts the focus from feeling defeated to understanding that the struggle is part of the process. The discomfort you feel during these times is your mind and body's way of recalibrating, adjusting to handle more complex tasks and responsibilities. Just like muscles grow stronger by being challenged and pushed to their limits, your mind becomes more resilient when it is tested by setbacks. By confronting these challenges head-on, you build mental toughness and endurance. Each time you overcome a wall, you emerge stronger, more capable, and better prepared for the next challenge. It's crucial to keep your end goal in sight, whether it's completing a difficult project, mastering a new skill, or reaching a personal milestone. Remind yourself that every great achievement is built on the foundation of resilience and perseverance. Learning isn't just about acquiring new information or skills. It's also about integrating what you've learned into your life in practical, meaningful ways. This often involves unlearning old habits, behaviors, or mindsets that no longer serve you. Growth requires you to let go of outdated beliefs and replace them with new, more empowering ones. For example, if you've always believed that you're not good at math, but you're trying to learn data analysis for your job, you'll need to unlearn that limiting belief and replace it with a growth mindset. Recognize that your abilities are not fixed. They can expand with effort, practice, and the right strategies. 2. Know yourself deeply. Understanding who you are at your core is one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and fulfillment. Knowing yourself deeply means having a clear understanding of your strengths, weaknesses, values, beliefs, passions, and fears. This self-awareness serves as the foundation upon which all your decisions, relationships, and actions are built. Without it, you risk living a life that feels inauthentic, unfulfilling, or disconnected from your true self. Instead of following a path that reflects your unique desires and abilities, you may find yourself adhering to societal expectations or the opinions of others, leading to dissatisfaction and missed opportunities. Self-awareness is not something you achieve overnight. It's a continuous journey of introspection, reflection, and personal discovery. It involves regularly checking in with yourself to understand how you feel, why you feel that way, and what truly motivates you. Start by asking yourself fundamental questions. What are your core values? What activities make you lose track of time because you enjoy them so much? What types of situations make you feel drained or energized? These questions help you identify patterns in your behavior and preferences, giving you a clearer picture of who you are. One of the most powerful ways to deepen your self-awareness is through journaling. Writing down your thoughts, feelings, and experiences allows you to process your emotions and understand your inner world better. Journaling is a private, safe space where you can be honest with yourself without fear of judgment. It can be as simple as jotting down what happened during your day and how it made you feel, or as complex as exploring deep-seated fears and aspirations. Over time, these entries become a valuable resource for identifying recurring themes in your life and recognizing areas that need attention or change. Another key aspect of knowing yourself is understanding your strengths and weaknesses. Everyone has areas where they excel and areas where they struggle, and acknowledging these openly is crucial for personal and professional growth. Many people focus too much on their weaknesses, trying to fix what they perceive as flaws, while neglecting to develop their strengths. However, it's often more beneficial to double down on your strengths, those unique abilities that set you apart, while finding ways to manage or compensate for your weaknesses. For example, if you're a creative thinker but struggle with organization, rather than forcing yourself to adopt rigid systems, you might partner with someone who has strong organizational skills. This approach allows you to stay in your zone of genius while still achieving balance. Self-awareness also means knowing your emotional triggers, those specific situations or interactions that provoke strong emotional reactions. Understanding your triggers allows you to anticipate and manage your responses, leading to healthier relationships and more measured decisions. For example, if you know that criticism tends to make you defensive, you can prepare yourself to respond more calmly when receiving feedback. This kind of emotional intelligence not only improves your interactions with others, but also enhances your ability to navigate challenging situations without being derailed by your emotions. Additionally, knowing yourself helps you set boundaries that protect your well-being. When you're clear on your values and priorities, it becomes easier to say no to things that don't align with them. Boundaries are essential for maintaining your mental and emotional health, as they prevent you from overcommitting, burning out, or feeling resentful. They also help you build stronger, more respectful relationships, as others understand where your limits lie. For instance, if you value your downtime but feel pressured to attend every social event, knowing yourself allows you to confidently decline invitations that don't serve your needs without guilt. Another critical component of self-awareness is recognizing and challenging your limiting beliefs, those deep-rooted thoughts that hold you back from reaching your full potential. Limiting beliefs often stem from past experiences, societal conditioning, or fear of failure. Common examples include thoughts like, "I'm not smart enough," "I'll never be successful," or "I'm too old to start something new." These beliefs can significantly impact your decisions and actions, often leading to self-sabotage or avoidance of opportunities. By identifying these beliefs, you can begin to question their validity and replace them with more empowering thoughts that encourage growth and action. 3. Control your mind by managing your thoughts. Your mind is your most powerful asset, but it can also be your greatest obstacle if not properly managed. Many of the challenges we face in life are not caused by external circumstances, but by our internal dialogue. The constant stream of thoughts, beliefs, and judgments that influence how we perceive the world. Learning to control your mind by managing your thoughts is essential for personal growth, mental health, and overall well-being. It's about taking charge of the way you think, so your thoughts serve you rather than sabotage you. Our thoughts are incredibly powerful because they shape our reality. What you think directly affects how you feel, how you behave, and ultimately, the results you achieve in life. For instance, if you constantly think that you're not good enough, those thoughts will manifest as self-doubt, hesitation, and missed opportunities. On the other hand, if you cultivate thoughts of confidence and capability, you're more likely to take bold actions that lead to success. The key is to become aware of your thought patterns and develop the ability to choose which thoughts to focus on and which to let go. One of the first steps in managing your thoughts is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the act of being present and fully aware of your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings without judgment. It's about observing your thoughts as they come and go, rather than getting caught up in them. This practice helps you detach from your thoughts and see them for what they are, just thoughts, not facts. For example, if you think, "I'm going to fail this project," mindfulness allows you to recognize this thought without accepting it as truth. You can then question its validity and decide whether it's worth your attention. Mindfulness also helps you identify negative thinking patterns, such as catastrophizing, expecting the worst to happen, overgeneralizing, believing that one negative experience defines your entire life, or filtering, focusing only on the negative aspects of a situation. By becoming aware of these patterns, you can start to challenge and reframe them. For instance, instead of thinking, "I always mess things up," you can reframe it as, "I made a mistake this time, but I've also succeeded in many other situations." This shift in perspective not only reduces stress, but also empowers you to approach challenges with a more balanced and constructive mindset. Another effective strategy for managing your thoughts is cognitive restructuring, a technique used in cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive restructuring involves identifying irrational or unhelpful thoughts and replacing them with more realistic and positive alternatives. This process starts with recognizing thought distortions, like all-or-nothing thinking, "If I'm not perfect, I'm a failure," or personalizing, "It's my fault that this went wrong." Once you identify these distortions, you can challenge them by asking yourself questions like, "Is this thought based on facts or assumptions?" Or, "What's another way to look at this situation?" By questioning your thoughts and seeking evidence, you can break the cycle of automatic negative thinking and create a more accurate and balanced view of reality. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "I'll never be able to learn this new skill," you might challenge this thought by recalling past instances where you successfully learned something new. This helps shift your focus from perceived limitations to your proven abilities, boosting your confidence and motivation. Managing your thoughts also involves setting boundaries with your mind. Not every thought deserves your time and energy. Some thoughts are simply unproductive or harmful, and learning to let go of them is crucial for maintaining mental clarity. This doesn't mean suppressing your thoughts, as that often makes them stronger. Rather, it's about choosing not to engage with them. One way to do this is through the labeling technique. When a thought arises, simply label it without judgment. There's a worry, there's a self-doubt, or there's a negative assumption. This act of labeling helps you distance yourself from the thought, making it easier to release. It's also important to develop a mindset of self-compassion. Many people struggle with harsh self-criticism, which only amplifies negative thinking and feelings of inadequacy. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. When you notice critical thoughts like, "I'm such a failure," replace them with more supportive messages like, "I'm doing my best, and that's enough." This gentle approach not only reduces stress, but also fosters a healthier relationship with yourself, making it easier to manage your thoughts in a positive way. 4. Invest in your skills and self-discipline. In today's fast-paced and constantly changing world, the best investment you can make is in yourself, specifically in developing your skills and building self-discipline. Skills are the currency of the modern age. Unlike material possessions that depreciate over time, skills grow and evolve, becoming more valuable as you refine and adapt them to new challenges. Whether you're looking to advance your career, start a business, or improve your personal life, investing in your skills gives you a competitive edge, a sense of security, and the flexibility to navigate an unpredictable future. Skills are not just about professional expertise. They encompass a wide range of abilities, including technical skills, interpersonal communication, problem-solving, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. Each of these skills plays a vital role in your success and overall life satisfaction. For instance, learning to communicate effectively can improve your relationships, both personally and professionally, while mastering a technical skill can open doors to new career opportunities. By continuously developing your skills, you become more adaptable and resilient, capable of thriving in various situations. Investing in your skills starts with a commitment to lifelong learning. The world is constantly evolving, with new technologies, ideas, and ways of doing things emerging every day. To stay relevant, you must be willing to learn and grow continually. This doesn't mean you need to enroll in formal education or spend thousands on courses, though that can be beneficial. It's about cultivating a mindset of curiosity and openness to new experiences. Read books, take online courses, attend workshops, and seek out mentors who can guide you. Even informal learning, like watching educational videos or listening to podcasts, can expand your knowledge and introduce you to new ways of thinking. One key aspect of investing in your skills is recognizing the areas where you have natural strengths and building on them. While it's important to address weaknesses, doubling down on your strengths often yields the greatest returns. For example, if you have a talent for writing, investing time in honing this skill can lead to numerous opportunities, such as writing a book, starting a blog, or creating compelling content for businesses. Leveraging your strengths not only boosts your confidence, but also allows you to offer unique value in whatever field you choose. However, skill development isn't just about gaining new abilities. It's also about deepening existing ones. Mastery comes from repeated practice, refinement, and constant feedback. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results, but mastery requires patience and perseverance. Think of skill building like going to the gym. You don't see significant changes overnight, but with consistent effort, the results start to show. The same applies to any skill you're developing. Set aside time each day or week to practice, learn, and improve, even if progress seems slow. Over time, these small, consistent efforts compound into significant growth. Self-discipline is the backbone of skill development. It's the force that keeps you going when motivation wanes, obstacles arise, or distractions beckon. Self-discipline involves setting clear goals, creating a structured plan, and following through on your commitments, even when you don't feel like it. It's the ability to prioritize long-term benefits over short-term comfort, making sacrifices today to reap the rewards tomorrow. Without self-discipline, even the best intentions can fall by the wayside, and the skills you want to develop remain underutilized or incomplete. To cultivate self-discipline, start by setting realistic and specific goals. Vague intentions like, "I want to learn to code" or "I want to get fit," lack the clarity needed to drive consistent action. Instead, break your goals down into smaller, actionable steps. For example, "I will complete a 30-minute coding lesson every day," or "I will work out for 20 minutes each morning." These smaller steps make the larger goal feel more manageable and provide a clear path forward. Each time you complete a step, you build momentum, which fuels further action. Another effective strategy for building self-discipline is to create routines and habits that support your goals. Habits reduce the mental energy required to make decisions, making it easier to stick to your plans. For instance, if you're trying to improve a skill, set a specific time each day dedicated to practice, study, or review. Over time, this routine becomes second nature, and you'll find yourself progressing almost effortlessly. The power of habit is in its consistency. Even on days when motivation is low, the routine itself will guide you through. 5. Let go of conventional thinking. Conventional thinking often leads to conventional results, which may not be what you truly desire in life. We live in a world where societal expectations, norms, and traditional paths are deeply ingrained in our minds from an early age. We are taught to follow a predetermined path: go to school, get a job, buy a house, and save for retirement. While there is nothing inherently wrong with these steps, they are not the only path to success, happiness, or fulfillment. To create a life that truly reflects who you are, you need to break free from conventional thinking and embrace a mindset that allows you to explore alternative approaches and possibilities. Conventional thinking is characterized by rigid beliefs and assumptions about what is possible or acceptable. It often involves sticking to the status quo because it feels safe, familiar, and socially approved. However, this mindset can limit your potential and keep you trapped in a cycle of mediocrity. If you want to achieve extraordinary results, you must be willing to think outside the box, challenge the status quo, and take risks that others may shy away from. This doesn't mean you have to rebel against everything or constantly defy norms, but it does mean questioning whether the conventional path is truly the best one for you. One of the main reasons people cling to conventional thinking is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of the unknown. It's easier to follow a well-trodden path than to venture into uncharted territory. However, it's important to remember that every great achievement, innovation, or breakthrough in history has come from someone who dared to think differently. From inventors like Thomas Edison to entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, the most successful individuals are those who were unafraid to challenge the norm and pursue their unique vision. To break free from conventional thinking, start by challenging your assumptions. Question why you believe what you believe and whether those beliefs are serving you or holding you back. For example, if you've always believed that a stable 9-to-5 job is the only way to achieve financial security, ask yourself where that belief came from. Is it based on your personal experiences, societal expectations, or something you were taught? Explore alternative ways of thinking, such as starting your own business, freelancing, or investing in passive income streams. By challenging your assumptions, you open the door to new possibilities that you may have never considered before. Another way to embrace unconventional thinking is to adopt a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. Conventional thinking often operates from a place of scarcity, where choices are seen as binary. You can have this or that, but not both. However, life is rarely that black and white. Abundant thinking allows you to see that you can create multiple pathways to success and happiness. For instance, instead of believing that you must choose between a stable career and pursuing your passion, look for ways to integrate both into your life. You might keep your day job while working on your passion project in your free time, or find a way to turn your passion into a side hustle that eventually becomes your main income source. Thinking outside the box also involves being open to new ideas, perspectives, and ways of doing things. This openness allows you to explore creative solutions to problems that conventional thinking might overlook. For example, if you're facing a challenge at work, instead of sticking to the standard procedures, brainstorm unconventional strategies that could lead to better outcomes. This might involve reimagining your work processes, collaborating with others in innovative ways, or adopting new technologies that streamline your tasks. The more you practice thinking creatively, the more natural it becomes to approach problems from fresh angles. One effective way to cultivate unconventional thinking is through exposure to diverse experiences and perspectives. Travel, read widely, and engage with people from different backgrounds and industries. These experiences broaden your understanding of the world and introduce you to new ways of thinking. For instance, reading about the minimalist lifestyle might inspire you to simplify your life, reduce clutter, and focus on what truly matters, even if it goes against the conventional pursuit of material wealth. Similarly, learning about the success stories of people who have taken non-traditional career paths can encourage you to rethink your own professional journey. 6. Prioritize action over endless thought. Taking action is the bridge that connects your ideas and dreams to reality. While thinking, planning, and strategizing are important, they are meaningless without action. Many of us fall into the trap of overthinking, endlessly analyzing options, weighing pros and cons, and contemplating every possible outcome. This is often called analysis paralysis, a state where we are so consumed by the need to make the perfect decision that we end up making none at all. To overcome this, it's crucial to prioritize action over endless thought. Action is the catalyst that turns your intentions into tangible results, moves you forward, and provides the feedback needed to refine your path. Endless thinking, without action, can be paralyzing. It's easy to get caught up in what-ifs, fears, and doubts, which often lead to inaction. This state of mind can make even the smallest task seem overwhelming because the focus is entirely on potential risks rather than opportunities. In reality, the act of doing, even imperfectly, teaches us far more than any amount of contemplation ever could. By taking action, you gain first-hand experience, learn what works and what doesn't, and gather insights that you could never obtain through thought alone. One of the main reasons people get stuck in overthinking is the fear of making mistakes. Society often teaches us to avoid failure at all costs, leading to a mindset where taking no action feels safer than risking an error. However, mistakes are not the enemy. They are essential components of growth. Each mistake provides valuable feedback that helps you adjust your approach, refine your skills, and improve your chances of success in the future. The only true failure is the failure to act. By prioritizing action, you embrace a learning mindset where mistakes are viewed not as setbacks, but as stepping stones on the path to mastery. Taking action doesn't mean you have to make grand, life-changing moves all at once. In fact, starting small is often the best way to build momentum and confidence. Break down your goals into manageable steps and focus on completing one task at a time. This approach not only makes your goals feel more achievable, but also provides a sense of accomplishment that propels you forward. For example, if your goal is to write a book, start by committing to writing just 1 page a day. Over time, these small, consistent actions add up, and before you know it, you'll have made significant progress. Another effective strategy is to adopt a ready, fire, aim approach, rather than ready, aim, fire. This means taking immediate action with the intention of refining and adjusting as you go, rather than waiting until everything is perfectly aligned. Perfectionism is one of the biggest barriers to action, as it creates an unrealistic standard that is nearly impossible to meet. The truth is, conditions are rarely perfect, and waiting for the ideal moment often leads to missed opportunities. By acting first and refining later, you create momentum, learn from real-world experiences, and build the confidence needed to keep moving forward. Action also helps combat the negative effects of overthinking, such as anxiety and self-doubt. When you take action, even in small ways, you disrupt the cycle of rumination and redirect your energy towards productive activities. For instance, if you're feeling anxious about a big presentation, taking action, such as practicing your speech, creating visual aids, or seeking feedback from a friend, can reduce your anxiety far more effectively than sitting and worrying about all the things that could go wrong. Action grounds you in the present moment, shifting your focus from imagined fears to concrete steps. To make action a priority, it's important to set clear, actionable goals. Vague intentions like "get fit" or "improve my career" are difficult to act on because they lack direction. Instead, set specific, measurable, and time-bound goals that provide a clear roadmap. For example, instead of saying, "I want to get fit," reframe it as, "I will work out for 30 minutes, 4 times a week." This specificity transforms an abstract idea into a concrete action plan, making it easier to take the first step. Accountability is another powerful motivator for action. Share your goals with someone you trust, join a community of like-minded individuals, or set up a system of rewards and consequences to keep yourself on track. When you know that someone else is aware of your commitments, you're more likely to follow through, even when you don't feel like it. Accountability partners can also provide encouragement, support, and feedback, helping you stay focused and motivated. Creating a habit of action involves minimizing distractions and eliminating the mental clutter that often leads to procrastination. This might involve setting aside specific times for focused work, turning off notifications, or creating a designated workspace that signals it's time to get things done. By creating an environment that supports action, you reduce the friction that slows you down and make it easier to get started on your tasks. Another aspect of prioritizing action is learning to embrace uncertainty. Many people avoid taking action because they feel they need to have everything figured out beforehand. However, the reality is that uncertainty is an inherent part of any new endeavor. You can never predict every outcome or control every variable, but you can choose to act despite the unknowns. The willingness to move forward without all the answers is what sets doers apart from dreamers. Each step you take brings you closer to clarity, even if the path isn't immediately visible. Action also serves as a powerful tool for overcoming fear. The act of doing often dispels the fear that comes with inaction. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, no amount of thinking will fully prepare you for the experience. Only by stepping onto the stage, feeling the nerves, and speaking your piece will you begin to overcome that fear. Each time you take action in the face of fear, you build resilience and train your mind to respond with courage rather than avoidance. It's also important to recognize that not every action will lead to immediate success, and that's perfectly okay. Action is as much about the process as it is about the outcome. By focusing on what you can control, your effort, attitude, and consistency, you shift your mindset from seeking instant results to valuing the journey of growth and improvement. Even actions that don't yield the desired results still move you forward by providing valuable lessons and insights that can inform your next steps. Creating systems and routines that prioritize action can help you stay consistent even when motivation fluctuates. For example, if you're working on a long-term project, develop a daily or weekly routine that incorporates specific action steps towards your goal. These routines create structure and discipline, reducing the likelihood of procrastination. The consistency of taking action, even when motivation is low, builds a habit of productivity that sustains progress over time. It's also helpful to reflect on your actions regularly. Take time to review what you've done, assess what worked, and identify areas for improvement. Reflection allows you to learn from your experiences and refine your approach, ensuring that each action you take is more effective than the last. This process of continuous improvement is what drives long-term success and personal growth. Remember that action is not about speed or rushing through tasks. It's about intentional, purposeful movement toward your goals. Sometimes the best action is taking a moment to pause, reflect, and reassess your direction. What matters most is that you're moving forward, even if it's one small step at a time. Every action you take, no matter how minor, builds momentum and brings you closer to your desired outcome. Prioritizing action over endless thought is essential for turning your ideas into reality. By embracing a bias toward action, you break free from the paralyzing effects of overthinking and open yourself up to a world of possibilities. Action teaches you more than any amount of thinking ever could. It provides real-world experience, builds resilience, and propels you forward on your journey of personal and professional growth. Remember, the key to achieving your dreams is not in perfect planning or flawless execution, but in the courage to take the first step, followed by another and another. 7. Focus on the present and let go of the past. Focusing on the present moment is one of the most liberating and impactful things you can do for your personal growth and overall well-being. Many people spend their lives dwelling on past mistakes, missed opportunities, or painful experiences, often replaying them over and over in their minds. This constant fixation on the past not only drains your energy, but also keeps you stuck, unable to fully embrace the opportunities that the present moment offers. To live a fulfilling life, It's essential to focus on the here and now and let go of the past. This doesn't mean forgetting your past entirely. It means accepting it, learning from it, and not allowing it to define your present actions or future possibilities. Living in the present means being fully engaged in what you're doing right now, without letting your mind wander to past regrets or future anxieties. It's about appreciating the small moments that make up your day, like the warmth of the sun on your face, the taste of your morning coffee, or the sound of laughter with friends. These seemingly mundane experiences are the fabric of life, and being present for them enhances your overall sense of joy and fulfillment. When you're constantly preoccupied with thoughts of the past, you miss out on the richness of these everyday moments, leading to a life that feels disconnected and unsatisfying. Letting go of the past involves accepting that it cannot be changed. No matter how much you think about what you could have done differently, the past is set in stone. However, the lessons you take from your past are not fixed. They are entirely within your control. Instead of viewing past mistakes as failures, reframe them as valuable learning experiences that have shaped who you are today. Every setback, heartbreak, or wrong turn has taught you something about yourself, your values, and your strengths. By focusing on these lessons rather than the pain, you can transform past experiences into a source of wisdom that guides your present and future decisions. One of the most common reasons people struggle to let go of the past is unresolved guilt or regret. These emotions can be incredibly powerful and keep you trapped in a cycle of self-blame. However, holding on to guilt does not serve you. It only perpetuates feelings of unworthiness and prevents you from moving forward. To release guilt, it's important to practice self-forgiveness. Understand that everyone makes mistakes. Being human means being imperfect. Forgive yourself for past actions, knowing that you did the best you could with the knowledge and resources you had at the time. Self-forgiveness doesn't excuse past behavior, but it allows you to learn from it without letting it define your self-worth. Another aspect of letting go of the past is recognizing when you are reliving old patterns of thought or behavior that no longer serve you. For instance, you might find yourself reacting to new situations with the same mindset that caused problems in the past. This could be a defensive response in relationships, a reluctance to take risks due to past failures, or persistent self-doubt stemming from earlier experiences. By bringing awareness to these patterns, you can consciously choose to respond differently in the present, breaking free from the limitations of your past. It's also important to let go of any grudges or resentments you may be holding on to. Holding on to anger or bitterness towards others only weighs you down and prevents you from experiencing peace. Resentment is like carrying a heavy burden. It doesn't harm the person you're angry at, but it drains your energy and clouds your judgment. Letting go of grudges doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior. It means freeing yourself from the emotional hold that the past has on you. This can be achieved through forgiveness, not necessarily for the other person's sake, but for your own well-being. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself, allowing you to reclaim your peace of mind and move forward without the weight of past hurts. Focusing on the present also means managing your thoughts about the future. While it's natural to plan and set goals, excessive worry about the future can be just as debilitating as dwelling on the past. Anxiety often arises from the mind's tendency to project negative outcomes, imagining worst-case scenarios that may never happen. This forward-thinking mindset can rob you of the ability to enjoy the present moment and create unnecessary stress. Instead of getting lost in what might go wrong, ground yourself in what you can do right now. Take actionable steps toward your goals, but remain open to the twists and turns that life may bring. Remember, the present moment is the only time you truly have control over. Practicing mindfulness is a powerful tool for staying present. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing your full attention to the current moment, noticing your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations without judgment. It helps you become aware of when your mind is drifting into the past or future, allowing you to gently guide your focus back to the here and now. Simple mindfulness exercises, such as deep breathing, body scans, or mindful walking, can help you reconnect with the present moment and reduce the pull of past and future worries. The more you practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to let go of distractions and fully engage with your life as it unfolds. Another effective way to stay present is to cultivate gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing in your life to what's already here. It helps you appreciate the small blessings that you might otherwise overlook. Start a daily gratitude practice by writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day, no matter how small. This simple exercise trains your mind to look for the positive aspects of your current experience, making it easier to stay present and let go of past disappointments. Living in the present also involves setting healthy boundaries with your time and energy. It's easy to get overwhelmed by commitments, distractions, and demands from others, all of which can pull you away from being fully present. Learn to say no to things that don't align with your values or priorities, and make space for activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Protect your time by setting boundaries around work, social media, and other distractions, allowing yourself to be fully engaged in the activities that matter most to you. It's also important to let go of the need for perfection. Perfectionism is often rooted in past experiences where you may have felt judged, criticized, or not good enough. This mindset can keep you stuck, constantly striving for an unattainable standard and afraid to take risks. Embrace the concept of good enough and recognize that progress is more important than perfection. Allow yourself to make mistakes, learn from them, and continue moving forward without getting caught up in unrealistic expectations. One of the most liberating aspects of focusing on the present is the sense of freedom it brings. When you let go of the past, you free up mental and emotional space to create new experiences and possibilities. You're no longer defined by what has happened to you, but are empowered to shape your life according to your current values, passions, and goals. This shift in perspective allows you to live more authentically, make decisions with confidence, and pursue what truly matters to you. In relationships, being present allows you to connect more deeply with others. When you're not preoccupied with past grievances or future concerns, you can listen more attentively, respond more thoughtfully, and engage more fully with those around you. This presence fosters stronger, more meaningful connections and enhances the quality of your interactions. It also helps you navigate conflicts with greater empathy and understanding, as you're not reacting from a place of past hurt, but from a calm and centered state of mind. Focusing on the present encourages you to take ownership of your life. It reminds you that you have the power to choose your actions, attitudes, and responses at any given moment. No matter what has happened in the past, you are not bound by it. Each day presents a new opportunity to start fresh, make different choices, and move closer to the life you want to create. By letting go of the past and embracing the present, you reclaim your power and become the active author of your own story. Focusing on the present and letting go of the past is a transformative practice that enhances every aspect of your life. It allows you to fully engage with the moments that matter, learn from your experiences without being weighed down by them, and create a future that aligns with your true self. Remember, the past is a place of reference, not residence. By grounding yourself in the present, you open the door to a life filled with joy, peace, and endless possibilities. Live in the now, for it is the only moment that truly exists. 8. Develop a system for decision-making. Effective decision-making is a critical skill that influences every aspect of your life, from your personal relationships to your professional success. However, making decisions can often feel overwhelming, especially when faced with complex choices, conflicting options, or uncertain outcomes. Many people struggle with indecision, procrastination, or second-guessing their choices, which can lead to missed opportunities and unnecessary stress. Developing a systematic approach to decision-making helps you navigate these challenges with clarity, confidence, and efficiency. By establishing a clear process, you can reduce the emotional weight of decision-making, make choices that align with your values, and move forward with purpose. A common mistake in decision-making is relying solely on gut feelings or impulsive reactions. While intuition can be valuable, especially when it's informed by experience, it can also be swayed by emotions, biases, and external influences. To make well-rounded decisions, it's essential to create a structured system that balances intuition with rational analysis. This doesn't mean you need to overanalyze every decision. Some choices will naturally require more thought than others, but having a consistent framework helps you approach each decision with the right mindset and tools. One of the first steps in developing a decision-making system is to identify your core values and goals. Your values act as a compass, guiding you toward decisions that are in alignment with your true self. For instance, if one of your core values is family, a job opportunity that requires frequent travel might not be the best fit, regardless of the financial incentives. By clarifying what matters most to you, you can quickly eliminate options that don't align with your values, simplifying the decision-making process. Your goals also play a crucial role in guiding your decisions. Each decision should bring you closer to achieving your long-term objectives, whether they relate to your career, personal development, or relationships. When faced with a difficult choice, ask yourself how each option aligns with your goals. Will it move you closer to where you want to be, or will it divert your time, energy, and resources away from what's truly important? This goal-oriented approach ensures that your decisions are purposeful and intentional, rather than reactive or short-sighted. Another key component of effective decision-making is gathering relevant information. Many poor decisions stem from a lack of information or from relying on inaccurate or incomplete data. Before making a choice, take the time to research your options, consider the pros and cons, and seek input from trusted sources. However, it's important to strike a balance between being informed and being overwhelmed. The goal is to collect enough information to make a reasoned decision without getting bogged down in endless research. Establish a clear point at which you will stop gathering information and start taking action. One practical approach to decision-making is the use of decision matrices or weighted scoring models. These tools allow you to evaluate options based on multiple criteria, giving each criterion a weight according to its importance. For example, if you're deciding between two job offers, you might evaluate factors such as salary, location, growth opportunities, company culture, and work-life balance. By assigning scores and weights to each factor, you can objectively compare the options and determine which one aligns best with your priorities. Another effective technique is to set time limits for making decisions. This is particularly useful for combating analysis paralysis, where overthinking leads to inaction. By setting a deadline, you create a sense of urgency that forces you to weigh your options and make a choice within a reasonable time frame. For example, if you're trying to decide on a new business strategy, set a clear deadline by which you will make a decision, even if it's not perfect. This prevents you from getting stuck in endless deliberation and keeps you moving forward. Scenario analysis is another valuable tool for decision-making. This involves envisioning different outcomes based on various decisions and considering the best, worst, and most likely scenarios. For instance, if you're considering a major life change like relocating to a new city, think through the potential outcomes. What's the best-case scenario? What's the worst that could happen? What's the most realistic outcome? This exercise helps you assess the risks and rewards of each option, allowing you to make a more informed decision. It's also important to recognize and manage cognitive biases that can influence your decision-making. Cognitive biases are mental shortcuts that can lead to errors in judgment, such as confirmation bias, favoring information that supports your beliefs; anchoring, relying too heavily on the first piece of information encountered; and availability bias, overestimating the likelihood of events based on recent or memorable examples. By becoming aware of these biases, you can question your assumptions, seek diverse perspectives, and make decisions based on objective evidence rather than skewed perceptions. Incorporating feedback loops into your decision-making process is another way to improve your choices over time. After making a decision, take the time to reflect on the outcome. Did it lead to the desired results? What went well, and what could have been done differently? By analyzing your past decisions, you can identify patterns, learn from your mistakes, and refine your decision-making system. This ongoing process of reflection and adjustment ensures that you're continually improving and making better decisions in the future. Another critical aspect of decision-making is embracing the concept of satisficing rather than maximizing. Satisficing involves choosing an option that meets your criteria and is good enough, rather than endlessly searching for the perfect choice. The pursuit of perfection can lead to unnecessary stress, wasted time, and missed opportunities. By recognizing when a decision is satisfactory and sufficient, you can act decisively and keep moving forward without getting caught up in the quest for an elusive ideal. It's also helpful to have a fallback plan or contingency strategy when making significant decisions. Knowing that you have a backup option can reduce the anxiety associated with making high-stakes choices. For example, if you're considering starting a business, having a solid savings plan or part-time job lined up can provide a safety net in case things don't go as planned. This approach allows you to take calculated risks while feeling more secure in your decision. Creating a support network is another valuable part of your decision-making system. Surround yourself with trusted advisors, mentors, or friends who can offer objective insights and guidance. Sometimes, a fresh perspective from someone outside the situation can illuminate options you hadn't considered or highlight potential pitfalls. While the final decision should always be yours, seeking input from others can help you see your choices from a broader angle and make more balanced decisions. Trusting your intuition also plays a role in decision-making, especially when combined with a systematic approach. Intuition, or gut feeling, is your brain's way of drawing on past experiences and subconscious knowledge. While it shouldn't be the sole basis for major decisions, it's often a valuable piece of the puzzle. If something feels off about a decision, even after logical analysis, it's worth exploring why that is. Your intuition can serve as an early warning system, prompting you to dig deeper or consider alternatives before committing. Decision fatigue is another factor to be mindful of. Making too many decisions in a short period can deplete your mental energy, leading to poorer choices as the day goes on. To combat decision fatigue, try to make important decisions earlier in the day when your mind is fresh, and streamline less critical decisions by establishing routines and habits. For example, simplify your daily choices by planning meals, selecting your outfits, or setting up automated financial transactions. These small adjustments free up mental space, allowing you to focus your decision-making energy on what truly matters. Embrace the reality that not every decision will be perfect, and that's okay. Part of developing a decision-making system is learning to accept the outcomes, adapt, and move on. Even with the best process in place, some decisions will lead to unexpected challenges or less than ideal results. What matters most is how you respond, by adjusting your course, learning from the experience, and continuing to make proactive choices. Remember, decision-making is not about being right all the time. It's about taking action, learning, and growing. Developing a system for decision-making empowers you to make choices with confidence and clarity. By combining rational analysis with intuition, setting clear goals, managing biases, and learning from past decisions, you create a structured approach that supports your long-term success. Decision-making is a skill that improves with practice, reflection, and a willingness to adapt. By committing to a systematic process, you not only make better decisions, but also reduce the stress and uncertainty that often accompany them. Remember, the quality of your decisions shapes the quality of your life. Invest time in refining your decision-making system and watch as it transforms your personal and professional journey. 9. Cultivate emotional resilience through acceptance of suffering. Emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, setbacks, and emotional turmoil. It's what allows you to keep moving forward, even when life throws unexpected challenges your way. One of the most powerful ways to build emotional resilience is through the acceptance of suffering, a concept deeply rooted in philosophies such as Stoicism, Buddhism, and modern psychology. Suffering, in various forms, is an inevitable part of the human experience. By accepting this reality, rather than resisting or denying it, you equip yourself with the mental strength and clarity needed to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and composure. Suffering can manifest in many ways, from the pain of loss and rejection to the frustration of unmet goals or the everyday stress of juggling responsibilities. While it's natural to want to avoid discomfort, trying to escape suffering often leads to greater emotional turmoil. Avoidance can manifest as procrastination, denial, addiction, or unhealthy coping mechanisms that only compound the original problem. By contrast, accepting suffering as a natural part of life allows you to face challenges head-on, process your emotions in a healthy way, and emerge stronger on the other side. Acceptance of suffering doesn't mean passively resigning yourself to pain or becoming indifferent to your struggles. Rather, it involves acknowledging your emotions, understanding the root causes of your distress, and taking constructive action to address what you can control. This approach transforms suffering from something to be feared or suppressed into an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. For example, if you experience the pain of failure, acceptance allows you to reflect on what went wrong, learn valuable lessons, and use that knowledge to improve your future efforts. One of the core principles of accepting suffering is understanding the impermanent nature of all things. Everything in life, from emotions to circumstances, is in a constant state of change. This perspective helps you recognize that no matter how intense your current pain or hardship feels, it will eventually pass. By accepting the transient nature of suffering, you create a mental buffer that prevents you from becoming overwhelmed by temporary difficulties. This mindset shift allows you to endure challenges with a sense of calm and perspective, knowing that every storm eventually subsides. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for cultivating acceptance of suffering. By staying present with your emotions, you can observe them without getting lost in them. Mindfulness teaches you to notice the sensations of discomfort, whether it's tightness in the chest, a sinking feeling in the stomach, or racing thoughts, without judgment or the need to immediately fix them. This practice helps you develop a compassionate relationship with your emotions, treating them as temporary visitors rather than permanent states. It also reduces the impulse to react impulsively or make decisions driven by emotional turbulence. Practicing self-compassion is another crucial element of building emotional resilience through acceptance. Often, when faced with suffering, people are harsh on themselves, adding layers of self-blame or guilt on top of their existing pain. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience you would offer a friend going through a difficult time. Instead of criticizing yourself for feeling sad, anxious, or frustrated, acknowledge that these emotions are a normal response to life's challenges. Self-compassion doesn't just soothe your pain, it also empowers you to respond to your suffering with care and proactive solutions. Another important aspect of accepting suffering is distinguishing between what you can control and what you cannot. Many people struggle emotionally because they expend tremendous energy trying to change things that are beyond their control, such as other people's actions, past events, or external circumstances. This constant striving against the unchangeable leads to feelings of helplessness and frustration. By focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and attitudes, you reclaim your power and reduce the emotional burden of trying to manage the uncontrollable aspects of life. Resilience through acceptance also involves reframing your mindset around challenges. Instead of viewing suffering as a purely negative experience, consider it a teacher that offers valuable lessons. Hardships can teach you patience, empathy, problem-solving skills, and a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. For instance, going through a difficult breakup might teach you the importance of setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, or recognizing unhealthy patterns in relationships. By finding meaning in your suffering, you transform pain into a source of personal growth. A practical way to embrace suffering is to build tolerance to discomfort through gradual exposure. This concept, often used in therapy for anxiety, involves deliberately facing fears or uncomfortable situations in small, manageable steps. Over time, your mind and body adapt, reducing the intensity of the emotional response. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, starting with small, low-stakes speaking engagements helps you build confidence and resilience. Similarly, practicing resilience in everyday situations, like staying calm during traffic, dealing with a difficult coworker, or handling a minor setback, prepares you for more significant challenges. Resilience is also strengthened by maintaining a support network. Suffering can feel isolating, but sharing your struggles with trusted friends, family, or a therapist can provide emotional relief and valuable perspective. Opening up about your difficulties helps normalize your experiences and reminds you that you're not alone in your pain. Moreover, seeking support doesn't mean you're weak. It's a sign of strength and a proactive step toward healing. A strong support system not only offers comfort during tough times, but also encourages you to keep going when you feel like giving up. Building resilience through acceptance also involves cultivating gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus away from what's wrong to what's right in your life, even during difficult times. It doesn't mean ignoring your problems, but rather recognizing that there are still positive aspects of your life that deserve acknowledgement. Keeping a gratitude journal, where you jot down a few things you're thankful for each day, can help reframe your mindset and build emotional strength. Gratitude reminds you that even in the midst of suffering, there are moments of joy, connection, and hope. Physical self-care is another vital component of emotional resilience. The mind and body are deeply interconnected, and taking care of your physical health can significantly impact your emotional well-being. Regular exercise, a balanced diet, sufficient sleep, and relaxation techniques like deep breathing or yoga can help reduce stress and improve your capacity to handle emotional challenges. When your body feels strong and well-nourished, you're better equipped to face the mental and emotional demands of life's difficulties. Resilience through acceptance involves embracing uncertainty. Life is unpredictable, and clinging to the need for control can create a sense of constant anxiety and frustration. Learning to accept uncertainty means acknowledging that not everything will go according to plan, and that's okay. This mindset allows you to adapt more fluidly to changes and setbacks, viewing them as part of the natural ebb and flow of life. When you stop fighting against uncertainty, you free yourself from the pressure of needing to have everything figured out and can focus on navigating each moment as it comes. Cultivating emotional resilience through acceptance of suffering is a powerful way to navigate life's inevitable challenges. By embracing suffering as a natural part of the human experience, you transform pain into an opportunity for growth, learning, and self-discovery. Acceptance allows you to face adversity with a calm and open heart, build mental strength, and develop a compassionate relationship with yourself. Remember, resilience isn't about avoiding suffering. It's about embracing it, learning from it, and using it as a catalyst for becoming stronger and more adaptable. Through acceptance, you not only survive life's hardships, but thrive, growing into a more resilient and empowered version of yourself. 10. Live in harmony with your core values and principles. Living in harmony with your core values and principles is essential for creating a fulfilling and authentic life. Your values are the guiding principles that define who you are and what you stand for. They influence your decisions, shape your actions, and determine how you relate to the world around you. When your actions align with your values, you experience a sense of integrity, purpose, and inner peace. Conversely, when you stray from your values, you may feel conflicted, lost, or dissatisfied. By consistently living in accordance with your core values, you build a life that is true to yourself, resilient in the face of challenges, and deeply meaningful. Values are deeply personal and unique to each individual. They are the foundation upon which you build your life's purpose and the lens through which you interpret your experiences. Common core values include honesty, compassion, family, freedom, creativity, growth, and service to others, among many others. These values are not just abstract ideals, they are practical, everyday standards that guide your choices and actions. For example, if one of your core values is integrity, you are more likely to make decisions that are honest and transparent, even when it's difficult. Living by your values helps you navigate life with consistency and clarity, making it easier to make tough decisions and stay true to yourself. To live in harmony with your values, the first step is to clearly identify what those values are. This may seem straightforward, but many people go through life without taking the time to consciously articulate their values. They may find themselves drifting from one situation to another, influenced more by external pressures than by their inner compass. Take time to reflect on what truly matters to you. What do you stand for? What qualities do you admire in others? What makes you feel fulfilled and at peace? Writing down your top values can provide a clear picture of what drives you and help you stay aligned with them in your daily life. Once you've identified your core values, the next step is to assess how well your current actions, relationships, and commitments align with those values. This process requires honest self-reflection. Ask yourself, are there areas of your life where you feel out of sync with your values? For instance, if you value health but often find yourself neglecting exercise or eating poorly, this misalignment can lead to feelings of guilt or dissatisfaction. Similarly, if you value family but consistently prioritize work over spending time with loved ones, you may feel disconnected or regretful. Identifying these gaps is the first step toward making meaningful changes. Living in harmony with your values often means making tough choices and setting boundaries. It requires the courage to say no to things that don't align with your values, even when it's uncomfortable. For example, if you value authenticity, you might need to distance yourself from relationships or environments that pressure you to conform or compromise your beliefs. This could mean leaving a toxic job, ending a draining friendship, or turning down opportunities that don't align with your principles. Setting boundaries is not about being rigid or unkind. It's about protecting your mental and emotional well-being and creating space for what truly matters. Consistency is key when it comes to living by your values. It's easy to live according to your principles when things are going well, but it's during challenging times that your values are truly tested. For example, if you value honesty, it might be tempting to tell a small lie to avoid conflict or protect yourself from criticism. However, every time you act against your values, you erode your sense of self-trust and integrity. Staying true to your values, especially in difficult situations, reinforces your commitment to living authentically and builds your inner strength. Living by your values also means being willing to evolve and adapt. As you grow and experience new things, your values may shift or take on new meanings. This evolution is a natural part of personal growth, and it's important to regularly check in with yourself to ensure your values still resonate with who you are today. For instance, what you valued in your early 20s might differ from what you prioritize in your 30s or 40s. Regular self-reflection allows you to adjust your path as needed, ensuring that your life remains aligned with your evolving sense of self. Another crucial aspect of living in harmony with your values is the practice of self-accountability. It's one thing to identify your values, but it's another to consistently act on them. Holding yourself accountable means regularly evaluating your actions and decisions to ensure they align with your core principles. This might involve journaling, setting specific goals, or seeking feedback from trusted friends or mentors. Accountability keeps you honest with yourself and helps you make course corrections when you stray from your values. Living by your values also involves embracing vulnerability. Standing firm in your principles, especially when they go against the norm, requires a willingness to be different, misunderstood, or even criticized. For example, if you value simplicity and choose to live a minimalist lifestyle, you may face judgment from those who equate success with material wealth. Similarly, if you value environmental sustainability, your choices might be questioned by those who prioritize convenience over conservation. Being true to your values means accepting that not everyone will understand or agree with your choices, but staying grounded in your beliefs is what ultimately brings fulfillment. One of the benefits of living by your values is the profound sense of inner peace and purpose it creates. When your actions are aligned with your principles, you feel more connected to yourself, and your life feels more meaningful. This alignment fosters self-respect, boosts your confidence, and helps you weather life's inevitable ups and downs with a sense of steadiness and resolve. You are less likely to be swayed by external validation or criticism because you are anchored in something deeper, your own truth. Living in harmony with your values also has a positive impact on your relationships. When you are clear about your values, you attract people who share similar principles and respect your boundaries. This creates healthier, more authentic connections based on mutual respect and understanding. Moreover, living by your values sets a powerful example for others, inspiring those around you to reflect on their own principles and strive for greater authenticity in their lives. It's important to recognize that living by your values doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes or feel conflicted. There will be times when you fall short of your ideals, act out of fear, or make decisions that don't fully align with your principles. The key is not to strive for perfection, but to approach each day with intention and a commitment to do your best. When you make a misstep, acknowledge it, learn from it, and recommit to your values moving forward. This ongoing process of self-awareness and adjustment keeps you on track and strengthens your integrity over time. Living in harmony with your core values also involves practicing gratitude and appreciation for the alignment you create in your life. Celebrate the small moments when you honor your values, whether it's standing up for yourself in a difficult conversation, choosing to spend quality time with loved ones, or making a decision that reflects your true priorities. Recognizing these moments reinforces your commitment to living authentically and reminds you of the power you have to shape your life according to your principles. Remember that living by your values is a lifelong journey, not a destination. It's about making conscious choices each day that reflect who you are and what you believe in. It's about showing up for yourself, even when it's hard, and taking responsibility for the direction of your life. By living in harmony with your values, you create a life that is uniquely yours, a life that feels purposeful, aligned, and deeply fulfilling. Living in harmony with your core values and principles is the cornerstone of a meaningful and authentic life. Your values are the essence of who you are, guiding your actions, decisions, and relationships. By consistently aligning your life with your values, you cultivate a sense of integrity, purpose, and inner peace. You create a life that not only reflects your true self, but also inspires and uplifts those around you. Remember, the most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. Honor it by living true to your values, and you will build a life that is rich, fulfilling, and authentically yours. That's the most important thing I've learned from James. William James said, "The greatest use of a life is to spend it on something that will outlast it." In real life, there's no point in doing something that will outlast you, because you won't be around to see it. That's not the point, though. Every day, if we remember that we should try to do or make things that are useful and important to other people, we will spend our time on things that really matter. If you do that, everyone's life will have value. Thank you so much for coming with me on this trip. My goal was for you to understand how I think,